so now we're to the stage where we're ready to mix our traditional investment. So we got a few different things here in buckets. We've got, the first is our plaster and sand that we have already mixed dry. So we've pre-mixed this, and I just usually use these jewelry investment buckets that we buy a specialized investment for small scale work, but I usually hang on to these sealable containers. And I'll use this to mix up. So I just already have this on hand, so it's really easy and quick because you don't have much time to be able to mix this up. There's kind of a limited amount of time where the plaster will start to kick, and so you need to make sure you're working fast. So I like to have everything set up and in place. In this container, I've got a 5-gallon bucket. I have water. I just gathered this water. This is cold water out of my creek that's right next to my studio. So we've got North Carolina mountain water that we're using. And I have a mark here on the side of the bucket. I kind of know just from doing enough of these teapots how much water I need to have. I know that I'm going to have almost a full bucket of investment by the time I get done mixing things to be able to pour in and fill up my mold box. To this section over here, I have this other material. You'll notice it's a little bit more lumpy consistency. This is called Ludo. And Ludo is, when I get done pouring my teapot or my form, I usually have to break off that traditional investment that's been burned, it's been run through the kiln, so it's been fired, and then we've poured the bronze into it, and then usually that plaster just crumbles off of the form. I knock it off, and it's a little chunky sometimes, so I break that down, I grind that up, usually just pour it on the floor, and I use a sledgehammer and kind of bust that up gently, and I create a powder called Ludo. And so this helps me recycle the mold material so that I'm not just throwing this in a dumpster. And so I can also use it as kind of like filler material so that I'm not having to use as much plaster and sand. So I started doing this recently, and it really helps cut down on the cost of my mold considerably, and it cuts down on the waste. So I think it's definitely more sustainable, and so I just keep kind of recycling it. You'll notice I've got another bucket over here that has kind of heavier chunks, but again, that becomes kind of like an aggregate that I mix in with this mixture of traditional investment. Now, if I were doing this over a form that didn't have ceramic shell on it, I definitely would want to do a facing coat first, to make sure I get the detail, because you obviously wouldn't want these big chunks causing like air pockets and things like that right against your pattern. So just kind of keep that in consideration. I'm able to get away with it. Again, another reason for me to do this method that allows me to not have to worry about the surface quality, because I'm already getting that with the ceramic shell. So all right, so we're ready to mix. I've got a mixer on my cordless drill. And so we'll start in, and we're just going to add, two scoops of this, and then we'll add a scoop of Ludo, and then, 2 scoops, and then sometimes I'll mix in a little bit more depending on the consistency of the solution as I start to mix it up. And then it's very important to stir this really well. The sand in here this traditional investment wants to settle, so I usually try to, use my mixer at the bottom. And again, I'll be working pretty quick. I probably won't talk much here because I need to kind of focus on getting this into my mold box before it solidifies. Okay, here we go. In the first few scoops, I don't worry about mixing yet. Just try to get those in quickly. And we'll start to get a little mountain or mound that forms. That's telling us that our plasters, our investment's getting kind of close to the right consistency. I want the solution thin, just so that it pours into all the crevices and I don't get any air bubbles, but I know that I need a full bucket here to kind of fill, so that's why you'll see that I'm trying to work fast here so I can get this stirred in without it starting to set up. There's nothing worse than that solution being too thick and then it doesn't fill in the cavities. You might wind up with air pockets that would cause, there to be excess metal in the mold due to needing to fill in those pockets, so. Another Ludo, and then we're going to try to get this in. All right, let's mix another batch. that's a better consistency. All right, I'm gonna pour inside that teapot. I just wanted to pour up to it to kind of support underneath of it, so the weight, so I didn't just pour straight into it. And now I'm just working bubbles out. And then I go ahead and add the rest of my investment. And then I'm just going to kind of push down on the wire, just so, you know, we get some of that down in. And again, I'll probably mix up some more, just so that I can top that off.